This episode of the Kingston Live podcast is brought to you by Grand On Stage. Get the most out of the Kingston Grand Theatre experience with access to pre-sale tickets, the best prices, and the best seats. Tickets for individual performances and subscriptions for the Grand On Stage season are on sale now at kingstонgrand.ca.
Behind every band is a story. Whether formed by a group of friends exploring shared musical tastes, or built with an ad on a message board, there's always a backdrop coloring the music that follows. But very few have the rich and complex history at the heart of Friday's Child and the Lost Congregation.
Carry me home, take me from here. It hurts too much to be, let me disappear.
At the center of the band is a collaboration between singer-songwriter Krista Van Slingerland and multi-instrumentalist Evan Massey, both musical collaborators, longtime friends, and former spouses. Though Friday's Child is a new band, Evan and Krista bring together years of musical history, exploring different sounds and styles, from folk to metal and beyond. The result is their forthcoming debut album, Broken Home Volume 1, a record that expresses themes of spirituality and personal growth through a mixture of clear sky bluegrass, smooth energized pop, and much more. This is Kingston Live, and today we sit down with Krista and Evan to discuss their music and the impact their history has on their unique collaboration.
Well, Krista and Evan of Friday's Child, welcome to the Kingston Live podcast. I should also say of Friday's Child and the Lost Congregation. Mm-hmm. And maybe as we get started here, I wanted to know, what's the distinction between the two?
So Friday's Child is us, and then the Lost Congregation is our band. Is kind of how we envisioned it, at least how Krista envisioned it.
Yeah, you can think of it like Jason Isbell, and then when he plays with the full band, it's Jason Isbell and the 400 unit.
Right.
We do a lot of duo shows, so
Yeah.
the band is like always the extra thing, and as we really like doing the band thing more. It's always tricky to find a gig that's consistent with a band, and also to not like play in the same area the same way like so many times.
And to have 5 creative voices or 6 creative voices in a band. Like, Evan's been in enough bands, and I've had one band dissolve. And so this gives us a little bit more control. It's not that we don't want creative input from our session musicians or anything like that, but this gives it a bit more stability. And it's, it's our baby. It's our creative project and vision. And that's what the structure of that allows.
Well, I know you've been in the studio with the band. You've been recording and releasing some singles leading up to an eventual album release here. But tell us about the bandmates who aren't in the room today with us.
So we don't have like a real band in the sense that's like it's always going to be the same people. We'd like to work with the same people, but we're...
Who have you been recording with lately?
So Jason Mercer on bass, Liam Cole on drums, and Chris Brown and Joey Wright. So Chris Brown, pianist, Joey Wright, mandolin player / multi-instrumentalist. They're all kind of multi-instrumentalists.
Yeah. No, you've really brought in the ringers on this, so to speak. But the two of you are sort of the creative heart of Friday's Child.
Exactly.
And you each have your own individual projects. Krista, you have, is it New Moon Radio?
New Moon Radio, yeah.
And Fine Country Music, Evan?
Yep.
I'll ask you a little bit more about those later. But
Sure.
How did Friday's Child come together?
I think you'll probably talk about later, but Evan and I are married. And
So this is your literal child.
This is our baby. We are going to have human children, but this creative project's our baby. I think for us, like the container of marriage, it was hindering the highest expression of what our relationship can be. But we have a great musical partnership. And so as we change that relationship container, this is really allowing us to show up for each other and care and love each other in the best possible way. So Friday's Child is just the product of, all this music we wrote when we were living together. And we had a whole album written, and we're like, this can't die with our romantic relationship. This needs to be out in the world.
It sounds like it sort of happened organically. Like there's one, you didn't wake up one day, roll over and say, do you want to start a band?
Well, we actually had a band before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it exploded. But we wrote a lot of music, and we had a lot of music, and we were like constantly playing together, constantly writing together, and really liking the material. That was kind of we just didn't want to let it die. I've had so many bands die, and you can't play the music anymore. Like, well, you can, but it just doesn't feel right. So it was another project that I'm just like, we got it so close. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's like tumultuous. It's not like easy being separated and like going through like new relationships. And
Yeah, I want to talk on that because it's interesting that your relationship goes much deeper than Friday's Child. But, I do know that the two of you are currently navigating a divorce. And I think you'd said, maybe this is you, Krista, but you said that you both believe fiercely in the music and in your partnership as artists. You just spoke to that a few seconds ago.
Yeah.
It sounds like your creative partnership will endure or survive the demise of your marriage. And you intend to continue making music together. Is this right?
yeah,
Totally.
yeah. We're really, I feel like we're good at it. And we work well together that way.
I find that maybe as someone who's divorced, but I find that pretty surprising.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
This is common.
I've gotten some backlash on it, but
Really? Like what? Like, what do you mean? You got
I
into
just
backlash?
I've had friends be like, what are you doing, dude?
And I can probably understand what they might think is going on, but
Yeah.
what's
Sometimes you talk to someone and you're in one mindset and you don't see them for 6 months, and then you've changed your mind, and that's kind of it.
But Friday's Child is such an important project between the two of you that everything else is kind of water on the bridge, but we got to keep this thing going.
Yeah, there are tons of moments where you're like, why am I doing this to myself? And I feel like it's really peaceful now. And actually, it has healed, for me anyways, a lot of what was broken through the dissolution of our marriage. I feel like we're kind of back to where we were when we first met. Just like a deep friendship is there and a deep love is there. So I don't really care what people think, to be honest.
Pretty much.
I'm over that.
Yeah.
I know that this is the person I want to make music with. This is the person I want in my life. And we have a beautiful partnership.
That seems like a really mature kind of point of view, way to approach it.
Yeah, like we're
Been
not
through the ringer. So.
Yeah. We've been at each other's throats. Don't get me wrong, but there was like definitely a day that like I was like, I can't talk to you anymore, and then like the next day I'm like, okay, I can't not talk to you.
But for the record, Friday's Child and your creative collaboration had nothing to do.
No, this was like way before this. This was like probably 6 months before.
We had been separated, I think, a year before.
Yeah.
Evan had kind of been asking me, he's like, to play music, and I wanted to, but I knew that I wasn't in a place where I could consistently show up for him, and I did not want to let him down again. There's a lot of like guilt, sadness, grief that comes in a marriage ending, and I feel like I let us both down in a lot of ways. I think most people who go through a divorce feel that way. And I didn't want to let him down again. So eventually, though, I felt like, okay, I'm in a place where I'm like healed enough and I'm stable enough that we can really do this. And now that we've started this journey, the times that I doubt it, I show up for him, to be honest, because I know Evan's played a lot of music in his life. I know he deeply regrets not continuing when he was younger. And so I feel like what we have is really solid, and actually we have a combined skill set that can make us really successful, and we have the desire, and now we have the wisdom and perspective to share with people and help other people heal. So it all feels really important to me, and Evan is sometimes the reason that I keep coming back.
Evan, how do you feel about the place that you've arrived together?
I feel like it's really an amazing thing to be able to do, and to have someone that is going to continue to show up creatively and not quit on you, Like I said, we've been at each other's throats at one point, and like it always comes back to like, we can't dissolve this entirely. We can change it, we can reconfigure, and I think we're figuring out that reconfiguration and with like music in mind.
I sense there's a calmness between the two of you.
Yeah.
And a comfort, like as two people that have, been married now, divorced. But yeah, there's no tension here really that I can.
No,
see.
we've done that. We've done a lot of that kind of
The hard work.
Yeah. The foundation here is love. It just doesn't look the same as it looked in our marriage, but that is still what's at the heart of this partnership and how we're moving through the world together.
Yeah.
It's a really amazing story. But aside from the divorce, though, you're both also working full time and working through the process of, in your words, redesigning your lives to realize your musical dreams. Tell us more about that.
At the beginning of the end for us, I think I started to dismantle everything in my life, which included quitting my job, leaving the field that I had studied and obtained a doctorate in. And then I was at rock bottom, and now I'm rebuilding. So what that looks like for me is going back to school, which people think I'm insane because it's been 12 years of post-secondary education. That's too many. But to be a psychotherapist, and part of that is because I know that my purpose is to help people heal, which music comes into that, but it's also a flexible job that I could take on the road. I feel really committed to this, and I realized that I needed to design my life around this dream that we had, this shared vision, and being a psychotherapist really does fit into that. And I'm also building an energy medicine business, which has something to do with Carry Me Home. Actually, we can talk about that later, but I'm in rebuild mode. I'm in hustle mode, so I'm really busy, but this is part of my priority.
What about you? Are you in the same mode?
Well, I didn't dismantle my life so much. I've kind of worked for the last 10 years on a carpentry business, cabinetry and millwork, historic restoration, and building that business up so that it was like fairly consistent and smooth. And just figuring out how to be in business is another thing. That's a big mountain to climb. But I found that before carpentry, I was in music. I played in death metal bands and a few rock bands and stuff. And I just found that like nothing ever kind of took. And I'm seeing why like later because of just networking and just not continuing to do. But I've refocused on carpentry because I found that carpentry was kind of like putting out an album every day where you're building something and you get to see the results. With music, you don't see that progress sometimes. And it makes money. That was the other thing too, is like I was 21, and in the first when I started doing carpentry in the first like month of carpentry, I made more money than at that point I've been playing guitar since I was 7, so more money in that amount of time in that like month than I did with all those years of music and like getting in the van, touring, and like spending all of the money you made at your other job to fund the dream. It burns you out. It really does. It really does.
Sounds like with music, though, you still have more frontier to explore.
Totally. I played in a metal band called Darkness Rights a long time ago, and it was technical. We recorded.
Listeners should know that Friday's Child is not.
It is not
band.
death metal. Absolutely. Not, I wouldn't say they're so opposite. Like, I mean, music is what is a genre these days?
Yeah.
You know, it's just a container for people to sell it. So. There's definitely metal elements in Friday's Child.
It's really classical on steroids.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah. I mean, and so there's one piece that's like inspired by Chopin. It's pretty metal. Like Chopin is like you take that and you distort it.
And you have metal music.
It's metal. I also had that feeling that like when I stopped playing that I kind of topped out with metal. It kind of took it as far as I wanted to go with it.
But I get the sense that you sort of can't imagine the huge, mental and emotional hurdles that you may have had to overcome in making a record together while divorcing and re-engineering your personal lives to pursue your individual and shared musical dreams.
I've been fortunate enough to like have great clients and be able to work my own schedule so that I can mix a little bit during the day and then like work at night. Like I run my own life right now. And there's no external factors. I have a wood shop that I can go out and work in at any time of day, any time of night. I can wake up in the morning, go sit down and mix for an hour, let my ears clear, put the headphones on, go to work, come back home, and my work is 100 feet from where I mix too. So I mean my whole life is work, it seems like, but that's okay. I kind of like it that way.
Yeah. It sounds like a pretty cool setup, though. Like,
yeah.
You've got creativity all around you.
Yeah, I'm trying to live my life that way, and it's a little different. Like, I look at kind of my friends who have done the woodworking thing and own, like, successful businesses. Not that mine's not successful, but what they want is they want growth. They want to stop doing it. And
they want to manage people.
They want, yeah,
You're
well,
an artist.
Yeah,
It's different.
I like the art form. I did have an employee at one point, and I was like, this kind of isn't working for me. And she ended up quitting.
It's unrelated to Evan.
Unrelated to me. I just like, it was a far commute for, anyways. It's just like, it's getting to continue to do amazing things is kind of what I want to do, and putting out a record. And like, I feel like one hand feeds the other, like being a carpenter who can build anything. And I find that like you meet people who are like-minded with woodworking and music. I've made friends that are doing both in Kingston that were like both equally passionate about music and woodworking. You know, it's like we'll talk about woodworking, music, and then kind of flip back and forth. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of people who are carpenters who are excellent musicians.
Here in Kingston, they seem to be in construction.
Yep.
Well, that's John's theory, at least, anyways, I believe.
Yeah. I mean,
Consistent.
it's a great way to like pay the bills and then have like a bit of freedom. And
Yeah.
I think for both of us at the end of the day, we had to be honest with ourselves about what we want and how that differs from conventional views of success. We definitely both grew up in conservative families with very like desires for us to be safe in the choices that we made, I would say, in terms of like financially, especially. And so, like Evan talking about,
How the heck did you end up in a band?
we were honest with ourselves. It was
A death
honestly,
metal band.
yeah. I will never sing death
my
metal.
parents are very supportive, but like they want me to be happy,
Yeah.
you know. But so they like supported me playing in a metal band since I was 13, and they were like, "Are you sure that you like this type of music with the screaming and the I'm like fuck you?" Yeah, they like opened up their basement and let us jam, and like we got kicked out of every venue I grew up in Kempville, and we got kicked out of every venue in Kempville. And my dad is a minister, actually. We went to the church board and we're like, we ran out of venues in town to play, and my dad was like, "There's no way that we can turn these kids away." And so they opened the church basement. We had shows in this basement, and it was like there'd be like 300 kids out to these things. And we actually had a show in the church basement on June 6th, 2006, which is 666. We had a show in the church basement.
That's crazy. I hope you had t-shirts for that one.
Yeah, we were actually supposed to book like a job for a cowboy, and like their tour bus broke or something like that, or their van broke. But we had like real bands coming in. We actually had like
We had a great community.
Great
growing up,
community.
right? Yeah.
Well, speaking of community, amidst all this, you'll be releasing a record at some point. You've been working on Broken Home Volume 1 by Friday's Child and Lost Congregation. I know it's being preceded by a string of singles. There's likely a few out already for our listeners who are picking up this podcast. But making a record takes talent. We talked about some of the talent that's going to be on this record. It also takes money. And the making of Broken Home Volume 1 began somewhat unconventionally.
Yeah.
Sounds like, the community really kind of came together behind this idea. But tell us the story.
Yeah, they did come together. So Alex Mundy, actually, our listeners might know Alex, great country. Yeah, she's actually going to play with us on July 11th. She had a Kickstarter for her album. So that's where I got the idea that we should maybe try and raise funds in this way. Evan's business is great because he gets large sums of money for jobs. And so we kind of use him as a bank account. But I really, I really didn't want us to have to do that, especially for me, because I felt like I wasn't then contributing. And that was, a way that Evan was committing, but I wanted to commit in a way too. And so I thought, okay, well, I can run this Kickstarter campaign. I'm good at administrating. I'm good at creating graphics. Let's figure this out. And so we figured out, okay, what are the real costs of paying people properly, which is really important to us, paying other artists fairly, and to record this mix master and put it out. And $7,000 was the number we came up with. And so we thought, okay, universe, here we go. Let's put it out there and see what kind of support we get. And so Kickstarter is one of those all or nothing crowdfunding platforms. So we had 30 days to raise the money.
Either make it or you lose it.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't get any of the pledges. So we were pretty close to the end. I had 3 days out or something, or 2 days out, and we were a couple grand away from making it. And we kind of had like a plan in our back pocket. Okay, how can we game this system? Like, can we donate the money to ourselves, and then we obviously get it back at the end? But I'm really glad that we didn't have to do that.
Oh, really?
No, we didn't
came
have to do
through.
that. I think Evan actually kind of pushed us over the finish line by texting, I would say, every person on his contact list.
Yeah, there's like 300 people that got a text message.
And
These are
somebody,
like candidates on election day. Like,
honest to
Kind
God.
of. I mean, you got to use anything you have. You can't like discount. Like, I'm not going to tell my friends, or I'm not going to ask.
but that's fun. How long did it take the $7,000 to come
month.
together?
Yeah, 30
That
days.
was
We
a
only had
month.
30
A
days.
month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I was super proud of Evan, to be honest, because he doesn't feel comfortable asking for help, and he certainly would not want to ask anyone for money. So that was another moment where I was like, he's really committed to this. So we better put our whole heart into this.
Yeah, I apologize to everyone I texted. But
Yeah.
also, sorry, not sorry. You know?
Yeah, and Evan did get some backlash for that too, So, but you just got to keep going and do what feels right, and we're delivering on all the promises.
Yeah,
we've
we're not
made,
messing around. It's just we needed
didn't
some
pocket
money,
that.
and people don't realize how much these things actually cost.
No.
Like, if I was to do another Kickstarter campaign, I would ask for double, because once you get the album done,
Man, I'm starting to get ideas now. $7
Yeah.
grand in a month.
man, honestly, put it out there, right? That's the other thing, is like, you don't get anything if you don't send it out and
You
let it
just
come
show
back to
up.
you.
And that's what you did. You put it out there, and the community responded. And I feel like this is it's a pretty phenomenal story in my mind. How did that make you feel when they responded in that way?
really good, especially because of what we were going through.
Yeah.
And,
That day that you called me and you were like, we just made the campaign organically. That felt like a benchmark of success, which is a hard thing to kind of come by in music.
and a sign from the universe for me. I was like, okay, we are supposed to do this.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Krista, you said that you cried when you witnessed Kingston's Tiny Horse take the stage at McKinnon Brothers Back to the Farm
Yes.
Festival a few years back. A band that sort of gave their first performance on our podcast. Listeners can check out episode 22, by the way. But what was it about that experience, watching Tiny Horse perform on that big stage, that moved you in that way?
Yeah, it's funny. I just had another one of these experiences with Lake Porter. I saw their reaction to there's this feeling that they're making it, and there's people in the front row singing their lyrics back to them. It's such a beautiful moment when you can see other artists have that just like realization, like, wow, we've done something that people are connecting with. And I saw it again at Prince Eddie's Brewery a couple weekends ago with Lake Porter. I saw Taryn and Martina realize that we're singing their lyrics back to them, and just the look on people's faces and the feeling of that. I want to see other artists succeed, and I can't wait for us to have those moments. But this isn't like, I don't see music as competitive. I come from sports, so that's saying something, because I am highly competitive, but there's enough for everyone, and I want to see our community succeed. So it was such a beautiful moment to see that for Tiny Horse and for Lake Porter, and hopefully for us someday too.
That's amazing. We talk a lot about that same idea, that there being enough for everyone.
The only thing that's competing is when you have two shows you want to go to on the same night.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the only
I get this
competition.
idea that it's sort of like, and with your band too, with Friday's Child, it takes a village to raise a band.
Oh yeah, we're trying to collaborate as
I've
much as
kind of
possible.
realized that too.
Yeah.
Like, it's about community.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone recently. Who told me that just like build a community around what you're doing, and you'll find the success. That's something I've kind of lacked. And so going back to the shows in Kempville, we had so many people out because that was like community friend groups and things. And another release I did a few years later got a lot of traction because we were all members of the Ottawa hardcore scene. And it like exploded the first day, like 7,000 listeners the first day kind of thing, getting out of the gate. And it was like really taking off show offers and stuff because we were all members of this community who was in other bands, and we all kind of came together to make one band. And a lot of people got behind that, and it got a lot of traction. And now, being out of the music scene for a while, like I put music out under Fine Country Music, but the community wasn't there behind it. And you get like 50 plays on the first day, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, I got some reevaluation to do, and like reset expectations and go back to work.
Yeah, I don't have the same like burdens as Evan. I have no expectations because I haven't done it before, and I think that is part of the beauty of our partnership. Is like, I'm green in a lot of ways that Evan is not, and so we can kind of check each other And we know, obviously, because we're married, like, I know what Evan's buttons and insecurities are. He knows where I am, like, where my fault lines are. Fault Lines is our first single, by the way.
Nice one. Slid it right in there.
And so we can support each other in that way. But, like, I don't expect anyone to care until they do. And art's not really about that. It's about self-expression. It's about connecting with people. You know, we've had lots of conversations about, do you write music for the audience? And I think the resounding
No.
It's no, not for us. That's not why we're making
Yeah,
art.
I don't get the impression that, speaking of expectations, that you're buckling under any sort of pressure that you might be feeling from those who maybe backed the making of the new record.
No, I mean, the music was already written, and it's raw.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable until you kind of just are comfortable being seen. And like, that's what Fault Lines is about.
This episode of Kingston Live is brought to you by Grand On Stage. Grand On Stage takes you beyond the regular Kingston Grand Theater experience. It's a subscription option that gives you access to pre-sale tickets, the best prices, and the best seats. That means you can customize your own individual package starting at just 4 performances. Want to bring friends? Subscriber pricing applies to their tickets too. And if your plans change, just exchange your tickets for another performance. Tickets for individual performances and subscriptions for the Grand On Stage season are on sale now at kingstongran.ca.
You've described the new album that you've been working on, Broken Home Volume 1, as a celebration of diverse musical tastes. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, Evan's talked about his metal roots. Metal makes me feel overwhelmed, like I might cry because there's so much going on.
Something's going to hit right, and it's going to be like...
I like Swedish, like melodic metal. That's as far as I can go.
Little at the gates.
But you'll hear, like, this thing kind of plays like a playlist with a through thread. Like, there's definitely a through thread, but our first single was more in the, like, psychedelic jazz funk, like Lake Street Divey. The second one, I mean, when I was putting it on Spotify, I couldn't even choose a genre. I'm not really sure.
It's tricky because there's a lot of elements, and it is like, it starts as kind of a country song, but then, like, kind of getting back to the people we worked with, like, we just went in with demos, acoustic guitar and vocals. That's it. We didn't want to color it because we knew the people we were working with were amazing. And we just, like, we really love what they do. So when we got Carry Me Home back, we got the bass and the drums done. That kind of went how I thought it would. It was amazing, like better than I thought it would.
We expected it to sound like the Cranberries' Zombie.
Yeah.
That was in our head. But then
Chris Brown, we did a live stream when we got Chris's tracks because he didn't track it at the same time. He's a busy guy, busy and elusive man, but we love him. But he sent the piano, or Jake sent over the piano tracks, and it was like, holy, it just like hit you like a ton of bricks. And I didn't realize when we were first listening to it that it's multiple passes. The song is 3 piano takes, and mostly 2 piano takes, and then 1 is kind of put in, but they complement each other so well.
and took it in a totally different direction.
Yeah,
it
and
doesn't
it's
sound
like all
the
of a sudden I have
Cranberries
no idea what genre it is.
No.
It's like there's like slide guitar on it. There's like a big like kind of grand piano. Well, definitely a grand piano pass. There's mandolin. There's electric guitar. There's acoustic guitar. It's like close to Americana, but I don't know where to put it.
But, so considering like the stylistic ground that you cover on Broken Home Volume 1, you mentioned that thread. Is there what is that underlying or core tenet to the music of Friday's Child or Friday's Child and the Lost Congregation?
I mean, I think it's two things. One is my voice and the way that I articulate and emote. And the other is Evan has a really specific, the way that he writes and hears and expresses melody, especially on a guitar, I find is very specific and unique to him and really beautiful. And that's why I think in our notes I wrote, like, Evan and I communicate well through music, for sure. Like, I feel what Evan feels through music much more viscerally than if we're having a conversation. So I think the way Evan approaches and plays the guitar and hears melody is another through thread. And so the way, like, our writing process has worked when we live together is often, like, Evan's just fucking around on a guitar all the time. And I'm like, oh, I've got lyrics for that. So I'm like kind of writing poetry. Or I might come with like a melody and lyrics, and Evan just like explodes it and makes it so much better because he has the theory. He went to music school. He understands his instruments. And if I'm like, hey, can you play ba-da-ba-bop? he's like, yeah, no problem.
But it'd be better if it was bop.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how it goes. And that's another beautiful part of this partnership is like music is our common language, I guess.
Yeah. Evan, what would you say ties it all together?
I think it's just us. There's musical elements that kind of tie things together, but the sound, I honestly would just say it's years of experience and like listening, a lot of listening to what I like and trying to combine elements. My thing with music is when I'm writing, I want to write something that I want to listen to, but I can't, or take the song to the highest expression. But I really like trying new things and bringing things together that I can't find easily. I don't want to replicate someone else's stuff, but I want to build on something I can take from Judas Priest, or like there's actually on Carry Me Home, there's a doom metal riff. And then this little piece is like, this is a Jason Isbell, and this is a little Dream Theater thing that's not really Dream Theater. And then this other little part.
Can we give that one a listen?
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Tell us a little bit about Carry Me Home. Tell us a little bit about that song.
Oh, Carry Me Home was coming from a pretty dark place. I have in various times in my life, you might need a trigger warning for this, but struggled with suicidality and just depression. And that a lot of my work before this life was in mental health and sport. So that came from just a really low place where you're so overwhelmed that you just feel like it's easier to die, essentially. It's easier to just somebody just save me or somebody take me somewhere else. Like I can't deal with this anymore. And so as the song evolved, what I really wanted it to be was something for people who are in that headspace. Instead of self-harming, instead of going down the rabbit hole, to sit in front of a pair of speakers and just blast this tune and like feel that music and know that there is at least one other person out there who has felt this way and made it through to the other side. Like you are seen, you are understood, you are held by this song. And so that's what Carry Me Home is about. But there's also a cool element. I'm a Reiki master. Reiki is energy healing. And so I've actually infused that song with Reiki. And so if you're open to it, you're going to receive Reiki whenever you listen to that track.
That must be what I felt. Just so our listeners know, I did listen to this already. But yeah, it's a moving song.
Yeah, it feels really good. And actually, I think that's what maybe ties our album together is how you feel when you listen to it.
That's actually true.
We're talking about feel
I was thinking
a lot.
about that on the way over, like why I write or why something sticks around is because as soon as you play something and you feel it, you hold on to it. When I play a G and a C, I don't really feel anything. But if I play like a G and then like I add a melody and then a C, and it's like, oh, okay. Because also like how I'm kind of doing this recording too, after getting stuff back from Liam and Jason, I just sit in front of the speakers and I play along to it until I get something that's like, okay, this really like fits and like it makes me feel something.
Yeah, it's a safe place for us to feel and express how we feel, and hopefully it's a safe place for others to feel seen, heard, understood, and some kind of camaraderie with somebody.
And drift at sea, hoping that the current will carry me. They prayed that I'd follow the signs. But I am like mothers. We were child. Carry me home. Take me from here. It hurts too much to be. Let me disappear.
That is a really beautiful song. And who did we hear playing on that track?
So on the piano is Chris Brown. There's mandolin on there, which Joey Wright did, of Le Volume. We've got Liam Cole, who also has a solo album out. You should listen to it. It's really dope.
Oh, it's so
trippy.
Beautiful.
And then
Yeah.
Jason just started, I think, a banjo camp.
Yeah, Jason
He's
Mercer.
just like, he's all over the place.
He's a
That guy,
monster.
he is an absolute monster. Actually, everyone who played on this thing is a monster.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like such beautiful, humble beings.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't feel like you're in the room with as much talent as you're in the room with, because everyone is just really chill.
Yeah.
But at the heart of Friday's Child are you, Krista, and you, Evan. I feel your creative collaboration is sort of this 1 + 1 = 3
Yeah.
calculation. And but what do you feel that each of you bring to Friday's Child that might be different than what the other brings?
I have a lot of musical knowledge. I went to Carleton in Ottawa for music, and I went to Algonquin for audio production.
You're also constantly learning. Like ever since I've known you.
I don't stop. Like I said with carpentry, I feel like I'm topped out and I haven't topped out with music. So what I'm bringing is just a lot of like being a sponge when it comes to learning things. And what Krista brings for me is like this melody, and then like underneath the melody, how to transform that with a chord progression. You can take a melody so many different ways, and it changes the harmony underneath it and just totally changes the song. So playing around with that, and then like the ability to mess around in a studio all day if I want to. It's like I have my recording studio in my living room, and I can just sit there with my guitar amp and play around and constantly work on something. Always, like when I'm making breakfast, I'm listening to the mixes. I'm pressing play. I'm listening to see what I like and what I don't. And also like a breadth of experience with like kind of how a band works.
You're also like an instrumental monster. Evan would never say this about himself, but on this record alone, he's playing acoustic guitar, electric guitar, slide. He's playing the pedal steel, which not a lot of people in this country can play. He plays bass in another band. He could play the drums if you want him to. And so I actually think what we do for each other is express what the other person can't. So like Evan is not excellent with words.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you can hear when you're listening to me talk, she's really like well enunciated, and I just ADHD brain kind of dump stuff on you.
So I can articulate how we feel or how I feel verbally through lyrics, through melody. And Evan can express that instrumentally. And so, like I said, he takes whatever melody I might come up with and explodes what's underneath it and just makes it so beautiful. So we really complement each other in that way. And I think we're also a safe space for each other, for sure. Like when I met Evan, I sang and I loved to sing, but I didn't sing. I didn't feel comfortable using my whole voice. And one of the first things that Evan taught me was the phone voice. Imagine you're like Will Ferrell and like, Mom, the meatloaf, the meatloaf. You know, it's like that big full chest voice. Mm-hmm. And I admired Evan so much as a musician and respected him. And so to have him really encourage me to use my full voice, now I know what the full expression of that is, and I can use it in so many different ways. And so that's one way Evan has helped me grow as an artist. And I think I hopefully give him a safe place to just, it's okay to feel things. I think a lot, like men in general, we don't teach men to feel. We don't teach them to emote. It's not okay to do that, but it is. And actually, I want that from Evan. I want that for Evan. So I think allowing each other to feel and express through our music is what we bring. And then I do have a pretty strong business sense. I definitely am good at building relationships and just connecting with people. That business brain combined with Evan's technical skills and all the things he's learning about the music business, like we're just a tornado of skills that actually complement each other so well.
Well, tell me about your project, Krista, New Moon Radio.
I think honestly that was a way for me to when Evan and I were separating, before we knew that we were going to do this project, I felt like Evan was music, you know, like I couldn't do it without him. I didn't know how to. I had never done that before. And so New Moon Radio was my way of asserting my independence, I think, and pushing myself to be seen, stand on my own 2 feet, stand alone. But most of my music is on this album. Like I don't feel maybe New Moon Radio is a safety net, but I don't feel like I need it because I know that we're committed to this project. Evan's project is different. That is something that he had been doing when I met him. Like, he tracked guitar in our first apartment in Ottawa for that project. But New Moon Radio is, I think, more of just me finding my feet and figuring out, like, Evan is not music, and I could do music without Evan, but I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Evan, tell us about your project. Is it Fine Country Music?
Fine Country Music. So it started in 2018. And I started recording, well, I guess before that, I had a really big carpentry job that went super wrong. I had a mental breakdown. I just remember sitting in the shop and like, what the hell am I doing? I am suffering for the backup plan. And I'm just like not happy. And this was like kind of 5 or 6 years into doing carpentry and kind of building a business. And I was just like, you know what? I finished this job. I have a little bit of money in the bank. I'm going to start writing and recording. And I got another job that was like, while I was writing, I was able to work carpentry, come home, and then write music. And I started recording like March of 2019. And I started just recording it. And I decided that I was going to do everything myself. And just after having like a band before, not exactly explode, but just not people that weren't the same mindset, that like who wanted to do it for a living, who wanted to like go out and grind and play shows, tour. I decided I didn't want that, but I couldn't afford session musicians. So I decided, okay, well, you're going to practice every night. You're going to play the drums. You're going to play the steel. You're going to sing. I didn't necessarily have to practice the guitar, but you're going to write all the guitar parts. You're going to do everything. And I got the songs to like a pre-production demo, like just on my laptop with like computerized drums, and then set out to record. And I got the drums done, and then I got guitar 1 done. So there's 2 guitars, bass, pedal steel, and vocals and drums. And I got it to the point where I had to start another job, and I had to tear down all the recording gear, and then it stalled for like 5 years.
We were doing stuff.
Well, we were doing stuff, but it just like I hit a wall.
It was
with
like
this,
that half-built desk that you were talking about.
kind of. It was actually
aside for a
more. I
while?
got to recording, and I didn't like my vocals. I hated my voice, and I realized that I needed to work on that. And I went to record the pedal steel, and it wasn't like, this isn't what I hear. You have work to do. So I put it on the
What style
shelf.
of music, if you don't mind me asking? What style of music, if you don't mind me asking?
So the idea with Fine Country Music, it was actually fuck country music.
Okay.
Because at that point, Florida Georgia Line was like the biggest band, and that's just like, it's rap. It's not exactly rap.
Sure.
It's like, but it has like a lot of rap elements. There's no real drums as far as I can hear on some of it, and it's just like, it's not really, it's like a kind of a convoluted version of country music. And I just like, well, I'm going to put my spin on it and do like kind of like a punk metal country album.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of what I'd say it is. It's all, and then like I realized that like it wasn't really new, but it's kind of like what Matt Mays was doing like a long time ago. It's in that same kind of vein. But yeah, it stalled for a long time, and I have like 8 songs recorded, but they're like half recorded.
And where's it at now?
So I've got 3 singles out, and I have like some other stuff done, but it's like kind of in the same stalled recording phase, because I'll hit a wall with a song that I think is good, and then I'm like, this actually kind of sucks, so I don't want to like work on it. But then my brain will get stuck on that song, then some other project will come into
doing
play.
it alone.
It's very hard to do everything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it again. Never again.
I get
Like,
the sense you're a bit of a tinkerer. You experiment a lot, right? And you iterate your way to the point where you're happy with something.
yeah, like the stuff that I've released, I've been pretty happy with, except for the second single. I just felt like it was like a Spotify algorithm thing, where it was like you had to keep up every 6 weeks is like what you're supposed to be releasing and it's like sometimes that doesn't work for a mix, and sometimes you're just like kind of forcing stuff.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good, so I told myself I wasn't going to do that again. But the first single I took, Am I Awake, like I spent a lot of time on that, and then I tracked vocals 3 separate times to get it where I was happy with it. And now I can sing it better, But it's like, it is for singing or practicing anything, it is regular work. It is regular practice, constantly doing it. If you suck, keep going because you won't suck. I feel like anyone can sing, to be honest. I had some like bandmates when I was singing in the car once, and the metal band is like, hey, Evan, who sings that song? And we were just singing along to Michael Graves' song, like a Misfit song. I said, I think it's Michael Graves. And he's like, yeah, you should keep it that way. So I'd like just some people be like some dicks
Really?
to me about it.
You didn't stop the car and ask them to get it.
No, I just like, I was a lot younger and was like very impressionable. And
Right.
I didn't have like that, fuck you, I'm going to keep singing, you know?
It's so funny
that,
because
that really took the confidence down a notch. So.
Yeah. There's been like a lot of that, you know?
yeah, it's so funny because the songs Evan sings on this album, like I want to cry every time I hear it because I know the backstory. I know that this is like something he's worked through, but also, and I'm like I'm picky in terms of like vocals that I like because I think there are so many great singers out there, but there are not a lot of interesting singers. But Evan does have a really interesting voice. It's like a rock vocal. I really feel when he sings. And I think he's such a beautiful singer. I love when Evan sings. So I'm so glad that you've moved through this barrier.
Yeah. Well, it's either like the whole project stalls or I like get back on the horse. It took a while to get back on the horse. We had like COVID happen in the middle of that, which would have been perfect for tracking something. You know, you're kind of stuck at home. But we were both living in a 500 square foot apartment in the Bywood Market in Ottawa. Yeah. And it was kind of like, she's got to be on Zoom. And I couldn't like track anything. And so it's kind of stalled there. And then it was just like, it was a mental holdup of like, I would go to record something. I'd like get ready to go record it and take like 6 months. And then I just like, I don't like this.
That was
I don't
one
like
of the
this.
reasons that we wanted, and I was especially really mindful of having other people on this project. Like I know when we started, and Evan talked about just giving acoustic track with a vocal and just like letting it evolve. Evan was really uncomfortable with that because every time he had been in the studio, every part was written, every part was perfectly practiced, and this was like a discomfort zone for him. But it ended up being beautiful. Moving through the uncertainty of that was really created something we couldn't imagine by ourselves. And so I knew that for Evan, because he has this hyper independent streak, I didn't want that to be his experience this time or our experience. And so, you know, more voices do bring other perspectives that we don't have. And what we've created is that 1 + 1 is 3. It's Evan and I, yes, we bring out the best in each other, but it's also Jason, Liam, Jake, Chris, Joey, like the whole team, everyone that we collaborated with. So,
well, getting back to Friday's Child and the Lost Congregation, the album that you've been working on and been putting together, Broken Home Volume 1. Does that imply there's a Volume 2 coming?
Definitely.
Is that in the works at some point in the
There's
future?
already some pre-production stuff happening.
yeah, we realized that we have a whole second album when we started doing this one. We're like, oh shit, well, I guess we've got to do a
we were like,
second.
these are just the ones that were like finished in the sense of like we got it all the way through the intro, verse, chorus, bridge, or however we wanted to structure it. It felt done enough on the acoustic that it was ready to go out and become something else.
That's exciting. I mean, we still haven't heard Volume 1 yet, but the bits that we have heard and our listeners can hear those too are definitely building the excitement and anticipation.
I'm very stoked on this project.
Yeah.
I have like kind of getting back to where I caught some backlash. I had to like put my foot down with a friend that was like, that told me, what are you doing? Like, why are you making a record with your ex-wife? And I had to like, this is some of the best shit I've ever made. So I'm going to keep going. And if we're not friends anymore, so be it. You can have your way, I'll have mine, but I am moving forward.
Friends, if you're listening, take heed.
Yeah, I know. I think we're coolish. You know?
It's hard because, like, obviously there will be new relationships in our life, and I think for sure, I'm not in a relationship. I feel really like I need to be alone, and there's still healing to do for me. But when I am, like, the message is Evan is part of my life. He's a very important part of my life, and if you get with the program, or you're not coming into our world, because this is an enduring friendship and partnership.
It's an amazing attitude, and the excitement, I think, is infectious. You know, there's So I'm glad that you're all excited for that.
We are
too. But you have a bunch of live performances lined up this summer, including an album release party here in Kingston. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Broom Factory. I have loved the Broom Factory since I first set foot in that venue. I think it sounds so good. I think it's a great size.
And
the
when is the
community-
show? It's
July 11th.
July 11th.
Yeah, so we've got Jason and Liam. We've got Alex Mundy on the piano, and Lee Graham is going to support on guitar. I might even have an acoustic guitar in my hands for one small moment.
We have one, yes. You
One
do. You
moment.
absolutely have to.
Okay, it's happening. And so that's, July 11th at the Broom Factory. We've also got Bad Fortune and Lake Porter are supporting us as openers. Like, it's so funny
What a great
because
lineup.
I know, like, and everyone should have their own show. Do you know what I mean? Like, all the people playing in the band, all these openers are all so fabulous. So we're just surrounded by greatness, and that's how we want to do it.
It'll make for a pretty cool album release party.
Yeah, it should be
and
good.
we're working with so the person who did our album art, Whit, kind of getting into that like supporting other artists. We really think Whit Montgomery who's Drillo Art on Instagram is just a fantastic artist.
Yeah.
We love his work, and
Can't wait for you guys to see the album art.
We'll put some links in the show notes.
cool.
Perfect.
So we're working alongside him to do some stuff for the show too. Like I'm gonna be like kind of
He's
combining
building a set.
all of my skills, I guess, and building a backdrop for Whit's art to be on stage behind us. So we can kind of showcase him too.
Oh, wow.
Because we're all kind of coming up at the same time together, and I want this to be something that is very supportive. Where like other bands I've been in haven't been like, it's competitive, and it's I don't want that for this. I want this to be like very like community collaborative.
Many of our listeners, probably not, I'm guessing, experienced Friday's Child performing live, but I get the impression you put a lot of effort into preparing
we
for your live
do.
performance. What could someone who might be in the audience expect from the July 11th show?
A roller coaster of emotions, because that's what the album is, and also a genreless ride. We are going through bluegrass,
But
country.
it flows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played through the set with Lee 2 days ago, and it okay, this is a set. It had like that right energy level where it kind of dips down in the middle and then ramps right back up. And
It's all about feel for us.
Yeah, and I think we're not going to have too much trouble like landing the plane, because it's just like the people that we're playing with are just killers.
And some great opening acts in Lake Porter and
Oh my
Bad
God,
Fortune as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So where can people find and follow Friday's Child online and maybe pick up the album once it's out?
Yeah, so on Instagram, where We Are Friday's Child. You can find us also on Facebook, and then anywhere you stream your music, it's Friday's Child and The Lost Congregation.
And when where can people find your singles?
We still need to build a band camp. That's the only one we don't have.
And a website.
But we have like Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer.
You're listed on the
Tidal.
Kingston Live website as well?
Yeah.
KingstonLive.ca.
Yeah, anywhere you stream music, you can find us.
Krista, Evan,
Thank you so much.
Friday's Child.
Thank you so much for having
for
us. It's
yeah.
been a real pleasure. I've listened to the show like quite a bit, to be honest. So it's cool to be on here. It's a really great thing you guys are doing here.
Yeah, we
like for
appreciate
the scene, for everything, like keeping people connected and letting people tell their stories a little bit. And it's really amazing. I find it that like there's such a cool culture with Kingston and music. It just seems like a natural thing here. In Ottawa, I feel like there's like a lot of communities that weren't related, but you guys do like a good job at kind of covering everybody and bringing everyone together. Like I've been to some rap shows, I've been to country shows, I've been to like jazz and blues, and everybody kind of like there's just so much here to experience, and it's
Trust
cool
me
that
when I say we had no idea what we were getting into.
Well, I bet. Can of worms.
81 episodes ago.
cool. I'll keep going. I look for 181. So
Thank you. Well, we'll look forward to having you back. Maybe when Volume 2 is out.
hell yeah.
Sounds great.
This has been Kingston Live. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it, tell a friend, or subscribe on your platform of choice. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. Kingston Live was produced in Kingston by Soundwise, hosted by Rob Howard. Voiceovers and technical production by John Sanfilippo. Writing and research by Peter Sanfilippo. Photos by Virginia Meeks. Executive producer Rob Howard. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@kingstonlive.ca.